When I was studying parallel prostitution and surrogacy, I realized that in very many ways there are two sides of the same coin. We speak a lot in feminism about the split between the whore and the Madonna. In prostitution and surrogacy we have exactly this. Because in the prostitution industry, women are for sex, not for pregnancy. If a man goes to a prostitute, he doesn't want a child from her. If she gets pregnant, he says, well, you take care of that, I don't care. It's not my business, I paid for sex, I didn't pay to have a baby, I don't want the baby with you, you are a whore. You can go away. You can have an abortion or have the child, I don't care, it's not mine. Right? So, in the surrogacy industry, it's the exact opposite. In the surrogacy industry, there's no sex. Nobody has sex with a surrogate. Why not? Because of course, if we're talking about a heterosexual couple that wants a child with a surrogate, if the man has sex with her, the woman will say, well, why are you having sex with her? That now you are unfaithful. So that's not okay. But it's okay for him to send the sperm in a package and put it inside of her. It's not being unfaithful. But if he puts the dick, it's unfaithful. Okay? But it's true, it's very strange. It's like our morals are like that, right? So there must be, in the surrogacy industry, no physical contact. And in the case that it's two gay men, of course, they don't want to have sex with her because they're gay, so they don't want to sleep with a woman. So they're also just sending over the sperm. And this is also the reason why a lot of women who become surrogates, they want really to stress the difference between that and prostitution, because they're saying, we're not having sex. We are not whores. We are Madonnas. So this, I would say, in a kind of very physical way, shows the split between the whore and the Madonna, which essentially is a split in the main patriarchal mind between sex and reproduction. Because the patriarchal male has always had a problem combining sex and reproduction. He's always wanted one woman for sex and another woman for reproduction, and they should not be the same woman. Because the woman who has a child should be a virgin, as we all know from the Christian story, that Virgin Mary did not have sex to have a child, right?
Yeah.
And this is exactly the surrogacy story. We're having here a woman who conceives without having sex. Maybe the child doesn't become Jesus Christ and go to heaven, but it goes to an upper class family and gets a better life. So she, in this story, feels like she's the good one. She is, you know, something like an angel. She helps other people. Also bear in mind that the division between the whore and the Madonna, they're both two sides of the same coin, but essentially these two female archetypes are about women who give. They're about women who sacrifice themselves for men. They're about women who say, I can make the world better by sacrificing my body. If I just give my body away, somebody else will be happy. The world is going to be a better place, right? So they both exist for somebody else. And this is exactly what happens with both these two cases. Also, we can see that these two industries, they really place themselves in certain parts of the world. We have some states in India that are full of surrogacy, that everybody goes there to have surrogacy. We have some other parts in Thailand where everybody goes for sex, for the sex industry. So we're seeing how this split in the patriarchal mind is becoming physical and is becoming like different geographical regions in the world are created to satisfy these desires. When I was looking at forums or interviewing women in the US who had become surrogates, one interesting thing is that a lot of them are very Christian women. And this you might think is strange. I mean, a lot of them are Catholic. You know the Vatican is against surrogacy. But why they were doing it? And in some studies, and also in the forums, it came up that a lot of them felt guilty for something. And very often it was something that had to do with sex and reproduction. A lot of them had an abortion when they were young, and they were feeling deeply guilty for this abortion, because they were not supposed to do that. Some other ones had given a child up for adoption, and they felt guilty towards that child. Other ones had been subject to sexual abuse when they were young. And there are some studies that show that there is more prevalence of these kind of things in women in the States who become surrogates than in other women. So becoming surrogates, they felt like they were becoming the good woman. They felt like doing that, they were kind of paying for their guilt, paying their debts, in a sense. Because becoming surrogates, you kind of tend to identify with the Madonna myth, that you are doing something for others. And what they were describing, there is a very good book that if you are interested in the subject, you should read it, about the first surrogate mother in the United States. It's called Birth Mother. And this woman, actually, she didn't do it for money. She did it for free. She wasn't paid. And she said that after having given birth, she was high, and she felt that she was a good person. She was just living for other people. And when she was seeing the smiles of the couple at the bed when she had just given birth, and of course, the people here who have given birth, you know the hormones when you give birth, you know, they're running around in you. And she was feeling like when the couple took the baby and they were smiling, she felt like, I have done something for the world. And she was in all the media, and she was talking about how great it felt to be a surrogate mother, how amazing it was to know that his presents were going to be under another Christmas tree and that she had helped to complete a family. Because that is her role. She's completing another family, right? So in this way, the woman is satisfying something that is very deep in a lot of women, the desire not to be an egotist. Because you know that a lot of women are very scared of thinking about themselves. They want to think about other people. When a man says, I'm hungry, the woman says, oh, let me give you food. If she's hungry, no, don't worry about it, right? So in this way, she was going around and she was known as the first surrogate mother who was really advocating for surrogacy. 6 years later, she wrote a book where she said that surrogacy had been a terrible mistake, that she had never gotten over giving away her child, and that she now could realize that what she was doing was really paying for her guilt, because she had given up a child for adoption before, and she felt that when she was forced to give up that child for adoption, she now redid the whole story, but had control over that. If you know something about sexual abuse and about prostitution, you will recognize the pattern. If you have been a victim of sexual abuse in your childhood or in your youth, and you feel the need to take control over this and reenact the whole thing, but now willingly. And this was the same thing that she was doing in surrogacy, reenacting everything to feel that she was in control of this and she was doing something good. Now she said that she, in the years following surrogacy, she had tendencies to depression, she wanted to kill herself at times, she terribly missed her son, and that she regretted the whole thing about surrogacy. And she later founded an organization of former surrogate mothers against surrogacy in the United States. So you will see this is very similar to prostitution, the way that things happen, that sometimes it takes a long time for a person to realize what is really happening and why we're doing certain things. And this I also think is part of the reason why I consider the so-called free surrogacy, or the, I can't think of the word now, when you don't do it for money, altruistic. The altruistic surrogacy, I consider that sometimes even worse than commercial surrogacy. Some people will say, oh, it's better if she doesn't get paid, because if she doesn't get paid, it's no exploitation, right? If she doesn't get paid, she's doing it for a friend, it's great, she's just helping somebody else. Okay, first of all, pregnancy is not like drinking a glass of water, to use an old and worn-out metaphor. You know, pregnancy is not like insemination. Pregnancy is not like donating sperm. You know, if you donate sperm, what do? You go to a clinic, you have a nice time for 5 minutes, and that's the end of the story. You will not die, you will not become infertile, you will not have pain. Maybe the child will grow up and think, where's my father? But that's a different thing. But when you are pregnant, you are there for 9 months. You cannot escape. You cannot smoke, you can't drink, you can't take drugs, you can't eat certain things. You have to take care of yourself. You start throwing up. You start having pain. In the end, it's difficult to walk. You can't just live the way you want. You can die. You can become infertile. You can get a lot of pregnancy-related problems. So to ask a woman to do this and not even get 1 cent, to get nothing in return, why is that less exploitation? I think that's more exploitation. Of course, if a woman does this, she should get paid because she's really doing an effort. But to say that no, she's not getting paid, it's not exploitation. You know, this is really preying on the old myth that women should be generous, and especially with their bodies. That women should give of their bodies. And this is really going back to an old patriarchal ideal that we all have it, but in capitalism we're kind of going away from it because we're learning to think about ourselves and, you know, we should be ego and so on, but there's still this thing in the back of our minds. And in the Indian surrogate industry, it's interesting to know that when they were putting out ads for women to become surrogates, and they said, who wants to be a surrogate? And they said, you will get paid this and that. They didn't get so many answers. But when they changed the ads and said, you can be the one who will put a smile on the face of another couple, you can be the one to create a family, all of a sudden women were flooding there. And why is this? Because you're speaking to something in women that we have inherited from patriarchy, which is, please do sacrifice yourself and somebody else will like you. And the surrogacy industry is preying on this. And of course, the best thing for the industry would be if women did this for free. If we didn't ask anything, if women said, of course, take my baby, take my body, just take it. I don't want anything, I just live for other people. You know? And to say that this is not exploitation, and to say that you will not miss the child,